Whenever it's come to Mexican/Hispanic media, movies and TV shows have always, well, not always lacked, but often fell short. Like, there are some great Mexican movies out there, but when it's come to the gangster hood genre, movies and TV shows about Mexicans have always gone unseen. They've often been seen as being confined to stereotypes and cliches in American media. But there's this show that's been out for a while that breaks away from those cliches, offering a refreshing perspective by portraying characters as regular people with relatable experiences. A show that also takes a look at the Cholo culture and lifestyle, and takes us back to the days that every homie has had before. A show that is about, well, this fool. Sadly though, it's been cancelled after 2 seasons. The show's reviews from critics were strong, but sources say it got cancelled because it failed to find an audience large enough to justify a 3rd season. Now usually when the first season of a show is great, it is incredibly hard to follow up that with another great season. The cancellation of the show is not just a loss for its fans, but a setback in the pursuit of a true representation in mainstream media. And make no mistake, the first season was really good. It was very well written and extremely funny with traditional Hispanic culture in pursuit of creating a true modern hood sitcom that was different than what we saw before. And in comparison, the 2nd season felt a bit flawed with some of its jokes and pacing, and sometimes was spending too much screen time on the side characters. But I still really liked it anyway. So let's spend some time to take a look at why this show deserved more recognition and what got it cancelled. The show is based on Chris Estrada's life, who co-created and stars as Julio Lopez as one of the main characters. He's 30 years old, still living at home with his mother and grandma. He's supposed to be like the self-righteous and narcissistic punk little bitch with a heart of gold that goes out of his way to help everyone but himself. He works at a gang rehab center in Los Angeles that helps ex-felons readjust to life outside of prison. My favorite character is Luis, played by Frankie Quinones, the older cousin who was a former gang member, fresh out of jail after an 8-year sentence, and now has to rehab his image. And while Julio has grown with the world, Luis is someone who's just been out of prison and still has that old school gangster mindset where he just wants to feel like things are back to normal, but has to learn that things have changed in the many years that he spent in prison. And Julio knows throws in his face whenever he gets the chance to.
It's not 2005. Tobey Maguire ain't Spider-Man anymore.
It'll always be 2005 up here, my boy.
Both of these characters are very interesting and have compelling storylines, combined with skillful comedy. There was times where they both reminded me of Craig and Dady from the Friday movies. But aside from them, you also got some side characters. We have Minister Payne, played by the legend Michael Imperioli, who's most known for his role as Christopher from The Sopranos. He's played a lot of mafia roles going back to the days of Goodfellas.
This whole time I thought you didn't go back to New York because you were in the mob or some shit.
Not all Italians are in the mob, Julio.
He plays somewhat of a comedic role here, serving as the minister that helps from the ex-gang members, but also acts as a mentor and friend for the main characters. Then we also have Chef Percy Williams, probably the funniest character on the show, and he's like this humorous yet casually witted, but probably the most middle grounded before the straight-laced Julio and the wildcard Luis. One of my favorite jokes in the show is how he stands on what he says, but eventually he finds himself saying yes to everything. Hey, but I mean, fuck it, you know?
Come on, dog, please.
Alright, fuck it. You've convinced me. Fuck it. You've convinced me.
Fuck! Why do I keep on saying yes to everything?
Then we also have Maggie, who's Julio's ex-girlfriend, played by Michelle Ortiz, which I have to be honest, I think I really liked her the most. She's like this smart, goofy, rockera type of girl, and she just reminds me of a lot of girls that I met before in my life. She just came off real by the way Michelle Ortiz played her, and considering some of the things that she's done, like on Mad TV, I'm not gonna lie, this girl is really talented and funny.
I'm really flexible, you wanna see?
But aside from those characters I mentioned, we also have other characters from Julio's family, like Julio's strict traditional mother, along with his carefree grandmother, Julio's sisters, some of the ex-gang members, just people I feel like almost everyone and everybody has known before. But what I also love about the show is where it takes place in, which is Los Angeles. It really brings East LA and South Central into every house in the neighborhood, where it really makes you feel like you're there at home in the hood. And I think everyone who grew up in these communities can relate to what it's like living in LA, as the show did a great job at depicting the sections of the city, while also showing the lighthearted shenanigans around Los Angeles.
LA can be a cruel mistress. One day she's giving you fellatio in a bathroom stall at Dodger Stadium. The next she's stealing your wallet on Hollywood Boulevard. But I wouldn't trade living in this great city for nothing in the world.
One of my favorite episodes from season 1 is the 2nd episode, simply titled Putazos, which is basically when someone gives you a... The episode follows Luis when one of his old enemies shows up and challenges him to a fight, who is actually the same guy that played Stretch in GTA 5. Yeah, I play that game too much for you to recognize his voice.
On the contrary, bitch, as you can see, I'm alive and thriving.
You ain't got no motherfucking respect.
Motherfucker, I got respect for reality.
Reality? Alright.
Luis tries to get his old homies from the neighborhood to come throw down with him at the park, but some of them have either passed away or completely moved on with their lives, and some even take it too seriously.
Whoa, hey, let's kill this motherfucker. Slow down, perro. We're just trying to throw some putazos. Ain't no half measures. And we're gonna do this, we're gonna fucking do it right.
By the end of the episode though, they are forced to admit that things have changed, which is another thing I really love about the show, how it brings me back to that era. Like when watching the show, it kind of reminded me a lot of the homies figures, which if you were around in that time, you probably remember seeing these homies figures that they had mostly in the toy machines at the supermarkets. It just reminds you so much of that time period when shit was really hectic with the gangs at the time, and just how so much shit has changed.
Remember the 90s? Shit was heated between your people and my people. Now we been getting along real nice for a while, but this neighborhood is held together by a very thin fabric.
The show also does deal with a lot of the brown struggles, such as cynical depression, emotional trauma, heartbreak, financial troubles, anxiety, loss of motivation, and just things that I feel a lot of people can relate to. Another thing I really like about the show is how it plays a lot of licensed music, and this show plays a lot of bangers that I grew up listening to, from oldies to hip hop to Spanish music, but most of all the show also has a lot of movie references. Like another one of my favorite episodes from season 1 is the 5th episode, where Luis keeps on quoting Austin Powers to the point where it lands him in therapy, where we also get a cameo from Tredge by Naughty by Nature.
Does porn make you Randy, baby? No, wait. Does porn make you Randy? You get it? Austin Powers!
Season 1 definitely has some great comedy. The scripts are very funny and well written, and every character is so clearly defined and interesting with their storylines. These are some episodes I can watch over and over again. Season 2, it wasn't bad, but I feel like it did take more of a dark and cynical turn. Like the first 3 episodes, I think those were probably the funniest of the whole season, especially the liquor store robbery one. That episode, it did feel a bit more silly, where it felt like I was watching a Looney Tunes episode, but it probably gave me the most laughs out of all the episodes, seeing how they were all fighting back and forth like if it was duck season.
Duck season! Rabbit fever! Duck season! Rabbit fever!
But some of the other episodes did feel like they were all over the place, where it did get repetitive, where it focused too much on the side characters. And don't get me wrong, I like all these characters, but I'm not really there for them. I'm ready to see the 2 main characters and their storylines. Like I said, I still enjoy season 2, but it did need a bit of work, and I did feel like it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, where I feel like there could have been more stories to be told, and I was actually kind of scared that at some point this show would get cancelled, and unfortunately, Hulu had announced that the show would not get renewed for a 3rd season, despite its good reviews.
It was a great show. I mean, why cancel it?
The reason why the show was cancelled is because it didn't have a large audience to convince the studio to order a 3rd season. I think one of the problems why the show didn't get a large audience could be that streaming services value shows for a theatrical assessment of how many subscribers they bring or retain. And unfortunately, that's an overlook for a lot of people, as there's a variety of programming that drives their subscriptions. Like maybe if they would have aired new episodes weekly instead of all on the same day, maybe it could have gained more viewership, but who knows. The only reason I think that is because before cable programming, it was something that was for everyone, whereas now streaming programming is instead something but for everyone. And I don't think it comes down to marketing either, because they did advertise this show and I did see a fair amount of ads for it. A lot of the show's cast shared their thoughts on the show's cancellation, including Frankie Quinones, where they shared this hashtag #SaveThisFool, as well as thanking the people and fans who watched the show. I guess people these days just don't seem to watch comedy as much as they used to, and it's sad.
Alright then, whatever. You fools don't like comedy, then fuck it.
It's a damn shame this show got cancelled, because I really did feel like the show had some potential. It stands out as a beacon of authenticity and a positive portrayal of the Hispanic community, and the show's cancellation is just a missed opportunity to continue this positive portrayal. I feel like this show though will be remembered for many years to come, and I still highly recommend checking the show out if you haven't watched it yet. It's a really good show. Even if you don't want to pay for Hulu, like me, well, I'm sure there's other ways you could figure out to watch this show.